Hi everyone, thank you all so much for coming out tonight. My name is Alyssa Klaus and I'm the director of the Meadows Museum of Art here at Centenary. If you're a Centenary student and you need passport points, be sure to check in at the front desk and get those scanned. Tonight we will be having an artist talk by local artists Kadavian Baylor, Eric Francis, and Ron Smith for their exhibition Divine Inspiration, 3 perspectives on God, giants, and the greatest of all time. Ron Smith is a self-described multi-creative soul. His artistic work spans various creative disciplines, including visual art, graphic design, writing, and music. He has exhibited at the Barnwell, the Southern University Museum of Art Shreveport, Louisiana State Exhibit Museum, and Dallas Love Field, and he has works in several private art collections. He is affiliated with the Shreveport Regional Arts Council, the Shreveport Art Club, and is a Northwest Louisiana roster artist. Ron also reinvests in our art community by serving as a paid panelist for the Schrack Art Business Artist Boot Camp, participating in the Conception Arts Biz Camp, and has been featured on our local NBC station as well as the Shreveport Sun. Eric Francis is a painter and muralist. Eric also has a strong presence as a teacher in our community. He records, produces, and publishes instructional videos and workbooks for painting courses. He has developed STEAM art activities for Art Break, collaborates with local libraries to teach drawing and painting classes at various branches, teaches continuing education classes, and most recently has spent this academic year teaching in our studio art education department on campus. His awards include a Critical Mass 9 Critics' Choice Award for Visual Art and an on-the-wall mural competition. Eric is also a Centenary alumni, so we have really enjoyed having him back on campus to teach in our art department. Kadavian Baylor is perhaps most well known for his public art, vibrant murals like the one that's right behind us tonight. His work serves as a catalyst for change, instilling hope, fostering community healing, and encouraging investment and ownership. He also serves as the program director for the nonprofit Setting Children on the Road to Excellence, where he coordinates and implements community art projects in underserved communities and schools in response to the defunding of enrichment programs during COVID. He is a member of the Greater Shreveport Chamber Leadership Class, a recipient of Shreveport's 40 Under 40 distinction, and has been published in 64 parishes, the New York Times, and USA Today. Their exhibition, Divine Inspiration, will be on view through May the 3rd. Please join me in welcoming tonight's artists.
Well, hello everybody, hello again. I'm Eric Francis, and I've pretty much always been an artist. I was the little kid drawing on the walls, making graffiti before I knew what graffiti was, you know. And when I got a little older, I started getting into comic books. Love comic books. I love the X-Men. I loved Spider-Man. You know, I just love the art. I love the artist named Todd McFarlane and another artist named Eric Larson. I just love their work. And that's what really got me into art, you know. It was that and graffiti. I loved graffiti. I do graffiti. I was destroying public property at the time. I didn't think I was at the time. It's much different when you get older. You look at things differently. Now that I own stuff, I couldn't imagine. You know. Yeah, but so one day I was visiting a comic book shop, and underneath it was a gallery. And the gallery was an illustrator. He was having a show there. And I just happened to go down and walk into the gallery. And this is when I was living in New York. And if you don't know, I'm from New York originally. But I was from New York, I was never really into art like that. Even though I was living in New York, I never really had any art classes. It was just something I did always. But anyway, I walked into the gallery, and I met with the illustrator, and I got to talking to him, because I really wanted to be an artist myself, but I didn't understand how you would approach something like that? Like, how do you become an illustrator? He said, well, you have to go to college. So this random guy says, you got to go to college. And I was all about it. I was like, I got to go to college. But I couldn't go to college living in New York because I was just too wild at the time. I'm partying and hanging out, and I knew I wouldn't have the focus that I needed to complete school. So around that time, my father was working for General Motors. The plant closed down, and he moved here, and I moved with him. And this place is perfect. You know? Living here, it gave me the opportunity to really focus on school. So I went to Southern, and I graduated from there. Then I came here, and I graduated from here. While at Southern, I had a mentor. His name is Mr. Daniels. He's awesome. He was an amazing art teacher. You know, he taught me so much. He kind of put me in a place where I could really focus on art, or he made me think about art as something that you could really pursue, which was awesome for me. And then I got here and I met another professor by the name of Bruce Allen. Bruce was awesome, real laid-back kind of guy, but don't mess with him, you know. Really good professor, and I actually learned a lot from him. Bruce is kind of a mentor too. He's always poking his head in every once in a while to see what I'm doing. Love the guy, love the guy. He was at the show also last time. And yeah. And after I graduated, I moved to Chicago. And I wanted to pursue art, but you know, life happens. You're just working. I'm just working every day and going home. And it was really frustrating. You know, you're kind of stuck in a rut. If you have art inside you, it has to come out. Like, you have to do it. You don't really have a choice, you know? So in about 2013, I just left Chicago. I was like, I'm gonna start pursuing art. Which is kind of crazy. I'm leaving a city like Chicago, which is really kind of known for art, to come to Shreveport to pursue art. But it worked out, though. It worked out, you know? Because I really wanted to be around families in Chicago by myself, and it just gets kind of boring, you know? I moved there from Shreveport thinking it's an exciting city, I'm going to do so much. But you get there, you just work, go home, work, go home, work, go home. You know, it gets kind of boring and silly. But yeah, so yeah, in 2013, I really started to take art seriously. I really put the time in. I just kind of put everything aside, kind of put all my fears aside, and just started to work as an artist, you know. And while I was beginning, I began to think about the artists that I really love, you know. Artists like Caravaggio, Vermeer, all the Ninja Turtles. I love all of them. I love them because they were masters. They were amazing. The work they produced, it was like you could see a world inside of a canvas, and I really wanted to do something like that. Later on, I really started liking artists like Picasso and Mondrian, and you know, they're doing abstract work, but I really love it. I never knew how to really approach something like that, but I really loved it. And some of the artists I love now, like Eric Jones, he kind of puts it all together. If you ever looked at Eric Jones' art, it's like it's abstract, it's realism, it's all the things kind of thrown into one, which is something I really try to do with my own work, you know. And the way I approach my work, it's almost like a classical painting style, you know, where you're making paintings by adding thin layers of paint on the canvas. Now, that's generally what I do. It's just a lot of thin layers. You keep building it up until you get the thing, you know? But my favorite artists use oil, and I use acrylic paint. You know, and acrylic paint, if you don't know, it dries really fast. So I've been using golden open acrylic. It's acrylic paint, but it just stays wet for a real long time, which makes it really perfect for the kind of style I'm going to use. But for these paintings, I did something a little bit different. It was a different approach. Like normally I like my paintings to be really flat, no texture, anything like that. I tried to open up and do it just a little bit differently this time. With these paintings this time, the paint was a bit thicker, you know. It's a similar approach, but I was trying to paint a little bit thicker, like towards trying to add details and that kind of thing. I really thinned the paint down a lot with water. Made it thin so I could add all the little fine details, you know. So these paintings, I really tried to delve into the essence of strength. So for my process, what I do is I just shoot ideas out of my brain, and then I'll say a little prayer, and then let whatever happens, happens, you know. And, which is kind of scary because ideas kind of pop out in my head, like, man, how am I going to do that? But you know, I just stay faithful to the thing and just keep trying to produce it. So the first image that I got in my head was of a lion, and it was about the size of this wall in my mind. It's really that big, and it had like a halo of smoky, light water kind of thing floating behind it. Real awesome image, but how do you paint something like that? You know, but it's in my brain. I'm like, all right, I gotta produce it. You know, and you know, we have a lot of art students here. And you get hard on yourself. Don't really get hard on yourself because there'll always be a challenge. There'll always be something that you're trying to get good at or you're trying to get better at. It's always a challenge. First, it's like how to draw hands and teeth and eyes and stuff like that. But after a while, you're gonna get that, but there's gonna be another challenge, there's gonna be another challenge. My challenge is how to paint a painting the size of a wall and fill up a room with paintings. But eventually you figure it out. You just keep going and you just keep getting better. That large painting back there, it's like, called it like Mike. And I got the references I used were those guys during like 91, 92. It's when they were at the peak of their popularity. They're really famous. The name of the painting comes from a song. There's a commercial. I don't know if you heard it, like Mike. I wanna be like Mike. Not the movie with Little Bow Wow. It was the commercial that I thought of. You know, a lot of artists, rap artists at the time, they referenced Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson, and Michael Jackson. They were amazing, 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 amazing. They were so iconic, you know. You're playing basketball, you go 3, 2, 1, and you shoot, and you think you're Michael Jordan, you know. Or you thought you were a tough guy like Mike Tyson. He was the youngest heavyweight champion of the world. And Michael Jackson had such an effect on people. You know, I've lived in New York my whole life, so I'm used to seeing like famous people, you know, so it's not really a thing. My sisters went to a Michael Jackson concert, and they were like, yo, we've become those people, you know? They saw him and just instantly started crying. It's like, I don't know what happened, I just started crying. That was the effect that Michael Jackson had on people, you know? It's the kind of effect that you wish you had on people. You wish you could do something or be somebody that iconic, you know? We oftentimes gain strength from our heroes. They were like our heroes at the time, you know. There's another painting over here with the 2 kids called Smile. Oh man, it was a love fest painting that thing. While I was painting it, I was thinking of my brother, you know, just growing up. And it's really about the resilience of children. You know, they're so strong. They can go through so much and take a lot. It's also about how strong children make you, you know. Like, say you're at home, you hear something bump in the night, and you're by yourself, go into the bed, put your head under the covers, call 911. But if you had kids there, and you hop out of bed, you're kicking things over, you're about to fight somebody. You know, the kids, children, they make you strong. You gain a lot of strength from them. Yeah, this series of paintings that I did, I really wanted to delve into the essence of strength, whether it be a majestic eagle or a lion or a black fox, kind of represents mystery, enduring, you know. The fox is looking towards the future with pride and strength. I feel like with my artwork, I want to inspire people. I want you to look at it and take a little something with you that kind of, or make you look at the world in a different kind of way, you know? And that's basically what the series of paintings are about. Go ahead. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I am Ron Smith. I'm the guy on this wall over here. This show was developed pretty quickly. the theme of God's giants and goats. If you see in the room, you'll notice that there are some things that represent some of those things. But God first. Before we do anything, we always talk about prayer. So we always lead ourselves with prayer. That's who God is in our life. So we need to make sure that we were led by something that's greater than us.
Our first meeting.
Yeah, our first meeting. So KD, and we were just sitting around talking. All of a sudden, between the three of us, this is where we ended up. What's going to inspire us? Ironically, at the time, I had started on a series similar to this, so I was already ready. This show came up in, 3 months, probably?
Oh, it was fast.
It was fast. It was really fast. So what you see is a lot of work and a lot of pain, late nights, one of us sleeping overnight in the studio. Okay, but this series developed for me from my background as a graphic designer. For those of you who don't know, I grew up in Belcher, so people who see me do my realism know me for my shotgun houses. But I don't like boxes, so this is me coming outside of my box. One of my greatest really my influences in art. My high school influence is actually one of my mentors, and he's also a collector. And that's Henry Price here in this room. Thank you, Henry. But none of this happens without the influence of people who genuinely cared about me. I thought I was going to major in music. That's why when Alyssa mentioned that, when I went to college, lined up in this music line, they said it's going to take 6 years. 6 years? I said, no, what is that line? And it was an art line, and I knew I could draw. I had gone to North Caddo and Herndon Magnet, which is, at the time was Herndon Junior Magnet. Tilmer Keels was my teacher. He did abstract work. Mr. Price did realism. So if you go to my site, you won't see, you'll see something totally different. But this collection came from me wanting to focus on black icons. We've had this thing about history, not telling the whole history of who we are. So this was my interpretation of showing people from Frederick Douglass to Simone Biles that you don't see here. But you see young and old on this wall. What I wanted to do was be an influence and prick the thoughts of people who didn't know who some of these people were, but also to recognize some of their life dreams and also some of their life quotes. Michael Jordan said, it's ironic. He said, heart is what separates the good from the great. And I was like, whoa. Serena Williams, she said, when I see children, I see the face of God. That's why I love them so much. That's what I see. James Baldwin, who you see outside, said, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. And that's what this room is about. It's about hope, about change, influence, and us taking our time to come up with something that can prick the consciousness of people that says, so who is that and what that's about? So this came from my graphic design and my abstract series. If you go to my site, you'll see that. Everything you see in this room in the background are actually works of mine that I photographed. Those are my paintings in the background. My graphic design skills are what you see on the top. So I've gone into Adobe Illustrator, built those files, and laid them on top. Then after I print them, I go back and I manually hand embellish them. So everyone that you see that will be this big in this series will all be hand embellished. Most of those, if you saw them flat in their first stage, you would like understand why I needed to hand embellish them. It gave them life. It gave them energy. So anybody from, and as the series grows, you'll see more elements of this and more people, young, old, in the Black Icon series. But our goal is to not just to be here tonight with you and share what our hopes and dreams are, but to also move this show to other places so we can share our story, our hopes and our dreams with those same people in other communities. This is bigger than us. It's all about God and what He wants us to do with the messages that we have here. And as you see, we all do totally different things. We speak to different people different ways, but it's always through our art. And it's just an extension of who we are. I'm proud to be here with them, to sit between them among greats. I consider them greats. So I'm Ron Smith, and thank you.
Back at you, Ron Smith, man. I'm proud of you and Eric Francis. We really did a great job of obeying the calling on our life. That's what I think it was about, coming together. We were sitting with a mentor, and he discussed our ability to support each other in our careers, and we respected that. Mr. Price. Anyway, we respected that, and then we just started living, and Eric began working at Centenary, and he and I were proposed the option to do a show, and that's when he said, hey, let's include Ron, and I'm like, yeah, let's include Ron. He just so happened to be working on Black Icons, and just all worked together. We came together, and we came up with the name of the show, and we thought about how God was the main source of our inspiration and how we would use that creativity that we had garnered to create art. And each of us have different approaches to the way that we create, but at this point in my career, I'm really ready to touch things that touch us and touch them in a real way, like many of the people around the walls have. We'll start with talking about the Ali piece called Diamond in the Ring. I'm Kadavian Baylor. Thank you all for coming out tonight and taking your time to hear this, but this is my portion of work right here. So from the diamond-shaped canvas on around to this mural. All right, so I kind of just want to touch briefly on each piece. Diamond in the Ring, guys. It's funny that Eric said he was in the comments. We talk about it all the time, but that's where I come from with this piece. It's a pop art inspired piece, and ultimately it's about Ali. Ali and I have a very deep relationship in that I've created a piece of art about Ali every 4 or 5 years of my life. And my grandma, she keeps all those pieces, so I can send y'all to show y'all pictures. But this piece, Pressure Makes Diamonds, I was thinking about what makes a goat. You know, what are the similarities that they have in their life? If you look at their lifespan, what are the things that attracted people to them? And Ali, he had such an insurmountable amount of pressure on his shoulders from society because he was held in this position and they expected certain things from him, but he spoke from a different part of himself. He was really a diamond in the rough. And that's where the title Diamond in the Ring came from. It's a play to introduce us to who Ali is. So I featured two very important things that he had to triumph in his life and stand on his integrity. On the right, you see the star with the moon around it. It represents the symbol for the Nation of Islam. And he was attacked verbally. He was under scrutiny, under pressure from society because of his willingness to join this group of people and his position in society. And these people in this time, they stand for Black power. They stand for healing and supporting where African Americans were in their healing process from 400 years ago, right? So I wanted to create that. I wanted to use that as an anchor to also talk about that was what he leaned on when it came time to deny being drafted to go fight in Vietnam. He didn't feel like he had any issue with the people in Vietnam. He saw that their skin color was the same thing as his, and he had no real fight with them. Why would he go and fight for an America that had him pitted in such a corner and had his people placed in such a position? So that's a lot of pressure. You know, could any of y'all handle that pressure? I don't know, it's inspiring to me. You know, how to give your life fully, how to sacrifice yourself, how to lay it all on the line for progression of humanity. And that's what the next piece, Love Embrace, is all about. That's my piece. I take it on tour all around the city. It's been in the Norton Art Gallery, it's been in Central Art Station, and I always overprice it because I don't want to let it go. I want to keep touring it because it's my statement piece. Ultimately, when I was getting ready, I moved out to Houston, Texas for a few years after I graduated from Louisiana Tech. And it was a big sacrifice, I feel like, to come back to Shreveport. You know, it was tough socially, and then you got a city like Houston. I'm just being honest. You got a city like Houston that has everything to offer to you, but my 70-year-old self would look back and be like, KD, you made a great decision. You know, you gave yourself in a way that's purposeful. And that's the kind of thought pattern that guides my actions. And so to give yourself fully, you see how the man is laying on the flowers. It's like he's given his life, you know, and the people behind him represent us as a collective, as humanity. I'm way ahead of the basic things that are in this mural. I'm way past it. That's holding us back. I feel like us right now, it's just like people have their heels dragging in the ground as far as what we're able to provide to society with all the beauty and all of our differences. We're not using it the right way. So, it's love embrace, and I'm going to continue to hold on to that. The butterfly is one of my icons that I love to put and include in a lot of my murals around the city. They stand for transformation, and that's where I feel like we are, and that's our purpose here, is to continue to prick the consciousness of people. Next, we move into Spirit Unveiled. This is a celebration of my prayer life. If you look at the background of the central figure, it's me creating an atmosphere. I feel like when we enter meditation and prayer, we're able to tap into something that shapes our environment and it wraps our skin and protects us. And that's what that piece is about. It's not much to it. It started, it's very organic in its development. It started as just a girl with the prayer hands, and then just being in the studio with the piece too long, I got to touch on it. So that's something my mom would know. She wouldn't let me, I'm always messing with things, you know, taking them apart, seeing how they work or putting them back together. She said I took apart my PlayStation when I first got it, and my dad would livid, and he called her while she was at work, and he said, if this boy don't put together this PlayStation, I'm gonna kill him. And she got on the phone with me and I put it back together. But that's just the type of person I am. I like to, if I'm around a painting for a good amount of time, more ideas and thoughts and life come to me, and I feel like, oh, it can communicate more deeply. It can connect with people more deeply, this thing I'm creating and this life that I'm experiencing. I can imbue it into my work. And that's what this piece is also about. Both of these hanging pieces are my initial stepping into the space of creating art on tapestries. Something about tapestries, the way that they have been used since the beginning of time to communicate the way that civilizations exist, that's really special to me. Being able to tap into the ancient uses of art has always been something that's very inspirational to me. So this next piece is really funny, and it's one of my favorites. It's called Holy Cow. And yeah, you can see why it's funny. It's just so ironic, but it talks about real things, right? But this one developed in a really organic way as well. It started with this huge piece of woven parachute cloth, right? And I abstracted the background. That's why the colors are so random. Sometimes I just like to let go. In the studio, sometimes I have built up pressure and I just create an abstract piece. And that's what it started as, and I got some music playing in the studio, and I'm vibing, right, just like Marvin Gaye, some old school music. And that's where I came up with the picture of the young boy in my head. The young boy singing. Something about that is so admirable. You know, it's just like honest and pure if you see a young boy singing at the front of the church. And I asked myself, what's he singing about? What's going on, you know? And I thought about Stevie Wonder and this music that he made and how it was living. His music lives. It's like the Bible. It's a living document, you know? You can always tap into it. So I created the sheet music, and around him, I began to address some of the things that are taking place during our existence, right? The protests, global warming, COVID-19, and the automation of a lot of jobs by the use of robots. So you see the robot petting the cow because, you know, agriculture is such a human thing. It's in our blood for us to grow things or to interact with mammals in a certain way. So I wanted to put a robot there, and it was just kind of funny to me. And when I noticed that I had these cows here, and the words inside of the young boy were so holy and speaking from a place of purity, that's when I came up with the title, Holy Cow. So that's that piece. All right, next we move into E Pluribus Unum, which means out of many, one. And that is a motto for the United States. This piece is a mixed media piece, and it's the only piece that I knew exactly what I wanted it to be as soon as I thought about the idea. That's because I've been invited to be part of an advisory board for an organization called Reform Shreveport. And yeah, I want to read to you exactly what it says on their website about why they exist, because I just do not want to mess it up. All right. Since its founding in 1836, Shreveport's built environment has been formed by a variety of economic and social forces. Built environments are the physical structures, buildings, roads, public spaces, and service infrastructure that provide the foundation on which our cities, businesses, and social interactions stand. Today, the built environment in our community is in need of reforming to suit the needs of a 21st century economy and to create a fiscally sustainable and prosperous city. Reform Shreveport exists to bring people together in conversation and action to find and implement solutions to improve Shreveport's built environment, right? So one way that they do this is invite speakers into town to speak. One of their speakers was Joe Menacazi, really cool dude. He's the founder of Urban 3, a private consulting firm specializing in land value economics, property tax analysis, and community design. Joe put on this presentation and he introduced the invention of redlining. Redlining was a discriminatory practice into which the United States government implemented a zoning style impact that would allow certain people to have access to mortgages. So in redlining, the government said, hey, this community is predominantly black, we're gonna make them category D. And banks would see that they were category D and wouldn't give them access to mortgages. If you can't access a mortgage, you can't pass down a home that you own to your family. Think about that. That's gonna tremendously trip you if you're trying to do any kind of wealth building. And that has happened all over the country. Joe Menacazi did a great job. I want everybody to take the time to check out Reform Shreveport's website, because it features this PDF and this video that highlights and goes deeper into how not only is this existing in Shreveport, where we're sitting, Line Avenue is a Category A neighborhood, and it makes sense. I'm just here, I'm just a messenger. But yeah, so that's what inspired this piece, right? So E pluribus unum, on the right side are literally pieces of wood that fell off of my great-grandmother's house in Greenwood. I believe that was a Category D neighborhood, and on the left side is just fresh new siding. It's maintained, and that's what I want the viewer to see: maintained versus deteriorating, the ability to build wealth. Keep that in mind. So I put E pluribus unum across the entire piece because it's just a second. Because it's out of many one. What it is me saying that out of many, we come together as one to repair the effects of redlining that still exists today. So that's what that piece is about. Then we move into this mural behind me. Yeah, it's called A Starry Struggle. And this was also very organic in how it came to me. Let me tell y'all that story. All right, so I knew I wanted to address the race, and I spoke with a few people about addressing it. And I got the confirmation and the acceptance in my heart to move forward with it because it set on my mind, and it was something that I felt like a lot of people were thinking about, right? This race is very controversial, and it has a lot of things floating around. It's arbitrary, and being able to understand exactly why it is the way it is, what's all happening here, what's the underlying things at the bottom of the pot that need to be stirred up. And I tried to approach it unbiased. Isn't that right, Professor Eric? Artists are supposed to view and critique work in an unbiased way, right? So I tried to approach this mural in an unbiased way. And I tried to tap into the thinking and intention behind each voter's base. So does anybody not know what happened with the recent sheriff's race? Wow. So y'all know what's going on in this piece. All right, cool. So I lead off the description by talking about Shreveport has a turbulent civil rights history. The night of the opening, many people came and asked me who are the people in the mural. I just let them guess because they revealed what the artwork meant to people. Initially, people would say, "Is that Dortois?" And I'm like, I know who he is, but that's not who that is. Does anybody know who Dortois was? Right. Dortois was a menace to African Americans in the city of Shreveport. And let me tell y'all about the story of how I came to the conception of this artwork. A friend of mine got me a telescope, right? So we were checking out the moon and looking at the stars and stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's sweet. Yeah, you know, put the telescope up. And then I go to a family's hangout. My family does this thing every weekend, they're kicking it. And my uncle is in the backyard with the telescope, looking at Jupiter. So astronomy is on my mind. And I'm thinking about how to approach this mural. What's the symbolism for the sheriff? Anybody know? The stars. So it's like, okay, I know how I can approach this. And that's where the identity for the framework of this work came together, right? The two individuals running for the race are reaching for the star. This is Henry Whitehorn. That is a experienced police chief. This is Nicholson, Mr. John Nicholson, and the support, Steve Prater. Because what I wanted to do in this piece was make sure that I define the things that I hear on the interviews from each party. I hear John Nicholson talking about his police experience and why that counts in his national programs. Whitehorn. And I hear John Nicholson talking about the fact that he has a relationship with the police department and how that serves as a replacement for actual experience. And asking the question to Prater, does experience even matter? To me it does, but you know, that's why it was a struggle for me to approach this work unbiased. Because to me it just makes sense how you would approach it, but what it does lead you into is asking the question of what is protection? When you go to vote, what are you voting for? Why do people vote for who they vote for? Because they feel like they're going to give them the things that support what they want. And that makes sense to me. It's just, that's objective, you know? But, so from right to left, you see the hands holding up signs, Whitehorn Council, Whitehorn wins, and then it's council, protection, in quotation marks, intentional to ask, what is protection to you? And I put yes or no at the bottom. You know, I give people an option to do what they want to. It's democracy, ultimately. And then, does experience matter? And then in the middle, I celebrate the date for the upcoming race. Next, I put a card with my name on it next to the signature because a lot of the ballots came under contestation because they weren't properly executed. And on the left end is one of my favorites because it's very subtle, but it connects with many of the pieces that I've created in Shreveport. It says, vote, their battle, your ballot. And that is exactly what it means. People have fought for so long to be able to provide equal voting rights for everyone. And that was a battle. There are many battles that have taken place in Shreveport specifically that speak on this. So their battle is to remind people of all who came before them and to let them know that they have a duty in order to respect that. So at the bottom of this piece is also another one of my favorite parts. It says, stars never mind the race beneath their glow. So you have to ask, what does it mean? Which race? Am I talking about the political race or am I talking about the skin color race? And if you replace the statement with the different meaning of race, it provides this cloudiness. It's not very clear what the situation is about. You know, people ask, is it about race? Is it not? Why did I put them in black and white and the rest of the piece in color? All of that is intentional, you know, because I think we pretty much understand, you know, what's happening here in Shreveport. I don't have to say it out loud, but the history is in the description. That's why I led with this is based on Shreveport's history. It's civil rights history, everything that's led up to this moment, because that is imprinted on a lot of supporters of Whitehorn's mental, the history of Dortois. and the marches that took place. And all of the civil rights history here is like PTSD for people. You think about why wouldn't they support a certain party? So stars never mind the race beneath their glow. That is my portion of the show, and it's been an honor. I want to thank Alyssa and Meadows Museum of Art for providing a platform that allows us to speak clearly as artists, that allows us to speak freely and to exercise this connection with the community. And thank all of you for being open to hearing our thoughts and receiving and letting it move through you and do whatever it does. That's all part of the process. I hope you go and tell everyone that you can about the experience and that we're able to continue to grow this thing. So thanks again for everyone coming in. Alyssa Ron is saying, are we doing Q&A?
Yes.
Yeah, any questions? What's up, ML?
How long did you work on this mural, this full wall mural?
I'm scared to tell you.
I mean, if you say it's a 3-month show, that you put this show together in 3 months.
Well, I told you about the way that I opened up and let things come to me as far as the conversation with my uncle and things, but actually getting the illustrations and designing the piece, 3 days.
Wow. That's why you were sleeping in the studio.
Yeah, that's why I was sleeping in the studio. That's it.
Wow.
Any other questions?
Not a question, young man. I am Mrs. Lewis, retired teacher in Shreveport. Mr. Henry Price has been a part of my life, her life. I taught about 30-some years. Wanted her to be a classroom teacher, because that's what's in my blood. But she said, Mom, I can't do it anymore. She said, it's art. Baby, I want you to hurry up and retire. But she retired and she's in the field of art again. So if it's in one's heart, that's where one needs to go. If we get art, much of it, in our children, classroom children's heart, I don't think we would have, I don't know if this is going where I'm supposed to go with this. Then I think we would get better and more from our children.
Yes.
Because what happens is, our children, we put them in a seat, a row, around a table, and we work from that point. But our children need to get up and move, go to the corner where there's some paint, so they can draw. No more than an apple. You learn your ABCs. That's an A. A B will give you a banana. A C will give you a cup. A D will give you a dog. Let them draw and explain themselves in the form of art. I thank all of you young men for what you have done and what you are doing. Please continue to go and work as you do, but somewhere Mr. Henry Price is going to get you into the classroom.
Actually,
So that he can show these young teachers who are coming through, it's not always the pencil and the paper. It's the art brush. It's the paint. And watch their little eyes line up. Now, if you want me to continue to talk, I'll do that too. Because teaching is what I do.
You just taught us all a really good lesson. Thank you.
Young men. I appreciate you all.
Thank
is there another question? I have something I want to share about our transparency, okay? I've talked to Katie about this a lot. It's something about us being able to sit up here and be completely transparent with you about who we are and why we do what we do. People, I'm 63 years old, okay? There was a time in my life, and I told him this. I couldn't have been on this campus sitting in a room that looks like this. So I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room. And the room that we're in is a room that I wasn't invited to all the time. So there was a time in my life, Line Avenue was off limits, okay? So my mom and dad looking down from heaven, I said, Lord, look at my boy right there. I have a friend who also lived in Belcher, where I came from, Kelly McDade. She's an arts community too. She'll tell you that when it came time for schools to integrate, they created a school called Trinity Heights so black people and white people didn't have to go to school together. And look what God did in this room. This didn't have to be. Look what God did in the room a few weeks ago. When we had our opening, there was standing room only. But God. But God. But giants. But goats. And that's what we're all about here. We're not here to challenge the status quo. We're here to say, look, I want you to think. And that's really, we want to do that. To say, look, how and why did you do that? Because how I grew up and where I grew up, I would never be doing this without the influence of people in favor of God. And this man sitting right in front of me. It's bigger than us. This event is bigger than us. It's bigger than you. I want you to go back and tell people about this show, not because of who we are, but how the art speaks to you. That's really what this is about. In 1995, I broke both of my wrists on a motorcycle. I couldn't even go to the bathroom by myself. It's a humbling experience, but what happened when you deal with tragedy, the only way you're gonna do is get up from when you fell down. There's truth and triumph in transparency. I challenge you all to be open to tell your story. And when you do that, you'd be amazed at the impact that you can make. Again, this is bigger than us. It's bigger than us. So thank you all for being here. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent, but I had to tell you that. Are there any more questions?
I have a question for the young people that are not artists, who may be an artist and not know that they are artists. What would you say to them to inspire them from the all your child? What would y'all say to the young artists to inspire them?
I would say to anyone, just follow your interest. Like, the Ali piece is me following my interest. When I was a kid, I was drawing things just like that on my wall, and moms was letting me. So if you have children or grandchildren, you gotta allow them that space to breathe, just like our teacher just said, right? So follow your interest is my suggestion. And if you have anything that you can't stop looking at, whatever that is, that's for anyone, no matter what you do, because everybody takes different life journeys. Follow your interest and don't be afraid to do it, because how many of these do we get?
Don't let what you can't do stop what you want to do. Desire is more important than skill. Desire and imagination will bring you to where you want to be. You just have to really, really want it and do a little something every day. And you're going to end up in a place where you don't know how you got there. You just really have to want to do it and actually do it. Just a little bit every day. Not a lot, just a little bit. It could be thinking about the thing you want to do. It could be somewhere in your phone, you have a little folder of pictures of things that you love. Don't let what you can't do stop what you really want to do. Because I didn't really know how to draw and paint before I got here. I never painted before I got here. But I really, really wanted to learn how to do it. So I just kept doing it till, I look at my work sometimes and go, wow. I know where I started, I know where I started. And I spent a long time not painting. And then when I had to start back, everything I gained, I lost. But I just really wanted it. Because I really wanted it, I just kept, pecking away at it a little bit every day. And you're gonna end up in a place where you'll amaze yourself.
To that point, because I'm all over the place, so to speak. I do a little bit of everything. Music is where I really found what I thought would be my calling. I knew I could draw, but I also knew I didn't like boxes. So I'm a little eclectic in that. I paint, I draw, I like to write, but I knew I could draw, so this is just an extension of my drawing. I've only had one, maybe two painting classes in my life. So this is merely an expression of who I am and the influences I've had in my life. And it could be Eric and Kadavian, they influenced me. It could be Dr. King that influenced us all. So everybody, these pieces don't represent something for everybody, but at some point they influence something about my life. There's something that Erica Badu said. Artists need some kind of stimulating experience at times, which crystallizes when you sing about it or paint or sculpt it. You literally mold the experience the way you want it. It's therapy. This is therapy. And if young or old in here who aspire to do something creative in a creative aspect, I say don't give up on it. It's never too late. Like I said, I just started this about 9 years ago, and I'm 63 years young. I'm gonna say young today. 63 years young, and I still have a lot to do. I still have a lot to say, and with the help of these guys, we're gonna say it collectively. So whatever it is, it's not how you fall, it's how you get up. All right.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Amazing show. I can't wait to walk through and take a closer look at everything. My question is about the relationship you all as artists have with collectors. Of course, as audience members, we have a relationship because we view the work, we go tell others about it. But in terms of your trajectory as professional artists, what does it mean to us, what does it mean to you for us to become collectors of your art? And what is the starting point for perhaps a new collector?
Ron, lead that.
I have a couple of collectors here in the room, but collecting for me and the people who collect my art is so organic, okay? A lot of people who collect my art is tied to who I am, but it's tied to a story. And I told you about the story of the motorcycle accident. But what you don't know is the story behind Serena Williams, and the texture behind her represents burlap. That burlap is what my grandmother carried me on when she used to pick cotton. So I brought in the old, I brought it to new. Collectors look for different things. We want collectors, but we also want to prick the consciousness of people. We want people to look at our work and it speaks to them, because if it doesn't, we say don't get it. We want collectors that get us. And most of the time, our collectors know our story. They know where he's been, where he's gone through. And you're looking at a generation of, we are 16? No, we are all about, we're evenly spaced. So you have about 4 generations that are evenly spaced between each other. So that's why we can do this in such vast differences. But it's all in the heart and the mind and the eyes of the collectors, why and who they collect, because who collects KD may not collect me or Eric, or vice versa. I have people that collect my abstracts that won't buy my rule stuff, and vice versa. So you have to make sure you understand your audience, and don't go to a place, like I would never take this work to a gallery that only did realism. It doesn't fit. So find your place, and that's in life, and speak to that. We can still be true to ourselves and do what we do, but always be mindful of who your collectors are, because they demand respect too.
Yeah, so the relationship with collectors is really interesting because you have a lot of ideas in your head about what it means to sell art, and collectors what it means to buy art. And if you're a new collector, it's kind of difficult to approach. You walk into a building with all the walls are white. It's almost like you're in a hospital. There's no prices anywhere. You know, you don't really know. Like you don't really know. You don't know what's good. You don't really know what you like. So you really have to go with what you like. And the way you do that is by visiting places like this and talking to artists and having artists talk to you. It's such an interesting process because when you first begin art, you're doing it because you love it. And you're doing the thing that you love, and somebody taps you on the shoulder, one of your friends, and be like, this is good. I would buy that, you know? And your friend, somebody really close to you ends up collecting your art, and then their friends start buying your art. And next thing you know, you're selling art. It's just a real interesting process. It happens really organically. Artists are really, they're the best marketers. We're the best salespeople. They're really the best at all this stuff. But we get so intimidated by it, you know, because we're connected to the thing that we're actually selling. We're not selling a VCR or a car, or, you know, we're selling a thing that we're actually connected to. And if we start to look at it as we're giving our gift to people, it changes the process for you. You don't think about it so much as I'm trying to sell to a stranger. It's a beautiful thing where a collector matches your energy. You know how much you love making the art. And then a collector is talking to you about how much they love the art themselves, you know. It's a real interesting process. Like, I made a painting and I just loved it. But, you know, after it leaves your hand, you don't know, whatever happens, happens. And, you know, I work up in my mind a little spiel that I can tell people, oh, this is this and this is why. So a woman walks up, she looks at the art, and I'm about to go into my spiel, she's like, shh. How much? I want this one, I want that one, I want this one. But my husband only let me have one. You know? And she just disappears. I'm like, oh, that was crazy. It comes back like right at the end of the show and buys a painting. You know? And the relationship you have with collectors, they're really your friends. You know? These are people you're talking to, you're keeping up with. It's a wonderful thing to have collectors. Have people who love your art and support you. You know, it's a wonderful thing.
Keep creating. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I commend the three of you for what you're doing collectively as well as individually. The support that you give to each other is critical. As you continue to support each other, short-term and long-term, what are your aspirations and where do you envision this going to?
One of our first conversations was wanting this to be our first travel group show. So we're in conversations with Southern University, Shreveport, to take the show after it leaves Centenary to SUMA's downtown, Southern University Museum of Art. And hopefully it continues to grow. Our aspirations are to let God take it where it should go. You know, we don't want to put any limits on it, but we want to give our maximum effort to making sure that that happens. So y'all want to add anything to that?
My question was somewhat related. Do you have an individual goal? That is your collective goal. Do you have individual goals? Because you do know when art is in you, as you say, it has to come out. So God has put these things in you, and they have to come out. And where would you like to see that? Is your goal to change the world, to change minds, to change prejudices?
You can be intentional. Are you looking at me? You can be intentional about that. I love that you asked that question. I mean,
I'm visually impaired, so I'm basically just looking at this.
Oh.
I'm a visually impaired writer.
Okay.
So, you know, that's
And
a different
singing.
thing.
She sings too, y'all. She's not gonna tell you.
Yeah, once one thing is limited, the other things are enhanced, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
But my thing is this, I'm 63 as well, Ron. Kudos.
Yeah.
The work from all of you is beautiful, breathtaking, so colorful, and that's what I hate about my eye condition. Some things I cannot see as well, but the impact of what you're doing is so motivating, and you're never too old for anybody in this room to realize your dreams, because you don't stop learning. If you stop learning, you stop living. You know, and we have to grow, and we have to inspire those behind us to keep those juices flowing. So consider the fact that what's in each of us individually, if we don't get it out, the world doesn't see it. That's daunting. There's something that only you and you were meant And if you refuse to do it, the world didn't see it.
Awesome. Thank you. I don't know if that's a question or a statement. I mean, I want to just take it and sit on it, you know? I want to let that marinate. We hadn't discussed individual goals. We're so respectful of each other. We're just like, hey, what do you need to make this first step happen? But I think that is something to take away from here and marinate on, and maybe we come back to the table and talk about our individual goals. Yes, ma'am?
I was wondering if, you know, because I'm faced this way, so I'm seeing this work, so I probably have stuff to say to the rest of y'all, but I'm just going to say it. Have you thought, like sitting here looking at this piece about the redlining, to me, that's the start of another series. Like it's one of many. Like if you're talking about touring this exhibition, I can see, you know, Diamond in the Ring. That's another series, right? And so I love the idea that, you know, these are almost so much about voice, right? And soul.
Right.
That's a whole series. I mean, I can see a whole space filled with that. So what's interesting to me is that you have such room for growth. Like everything we're looking at here is a seed.
Right.
Right? And when you were talking about taking the show to Sumas, I'm like, take it to Baton Rouge. Don't take it, I mean, you can take it here.
Yeah,
But, you know, or, I don't know if you all are familiar with the Green Family Art Foundation in Dallas.
We are now.
But they're doing some really amazing shows, and even if it's, I mean, I don't know what that, you know, it's like right next door to the Dallas Museum of Art, so it's very legit. But there's a woman named Daisha Board. She has a gallery in Dallas. Oh, she's legit. She is a great promoter. Talk about finding you all some more, growing your audience, growing your collectors and things like that. But I encourage you to, I mean, this needs to happen here, and I'm glad it's happening here. And yet, there are so many opportunities, you know, for whatever reason, every artist, they gotta go out to come back in.
Right.
They gotta expand to really, like, people at home go, oh, like, for real? Like, you real legit? Oh, wow. You know what I'm saying? It's always that way. So I encourage you to continue in that way.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad you're making work that's portable.
Awesome. Yeah. Not a site-specific installation. Well, I do both.
Yes.
But everybody here heard what she just said. That's going to happen.
Right? Love it.
That's going to happen. Yes, ma'am?
I think you're doing what she said now, right here. You started it, you know, you have started the seed. And I'm going to say here, because this is a treat for me because I didn't know I was able to do this today. So,
Nice.
and being at home and to experience this, I think it is absolutely great.
Thank you.
What you guys have done here is, I mean, like she says, it is happening everywhere, but you started right here with us. And I think, you know, I don't know, I'm sure everybody here is grateful for it. I know I am because I can't get to that. I can't go to Houston because right now I'm limited in that way, so look at what I got today. I mean, it's awesome. You don't have to really spend, I'm sure, in other places to even get to do this. You know, so thank you for that. And I also want to thank you for you guys being as great as you are, putting on such a fantastic work and doing it collectively.
Thank you.
That in itself is a feat. When people do what you've done and it's capable, we don't come together. We don't do this. You know, you gotta vie for that space. You know, there's nothing collective that happens a lot when you do things on this scale. So my hats off, hair, wig, whatever. All right, guys. You know, just for that. So and I'm not necessarily familiar with the two gentlemen. I had a chance to meet Mr. Eric coming in, and now and this is back to the bone. Oh yeah, all of it. And Mr. Smith, I've had the opportunity to watch you on social media, and to come in and I saw you doing this, and I'm like, man. And then here I come, and then I could just sit. It's awesome. So
Thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you. You know, keep doing it.
Thank you, thank the Meadows.
Yeah, everybody.
How are we looking, Alyssa? We good for room? More questions, or how are we looking?
May I make one additional statement?
Yes, ma'am. You sure can.
I'm a graduate of GSU, and everybody knows about GSU. If not, talk to Dr. Henry Price, and he shall tell you more. If it had not been for Grambling, I would not probably be sitting here today. Since going to Grambling, I have gone to many colleges and universities. But it takes certain groups to come through that will catch the eye of an individual. You can go to an institution and you pass that room by, and you never look in it unless that's your prescribed subject matter. Our children need you all. And he's on the wall of the fairground, right?
Yes.
Yeah, see, I've been by there. My daughter took me by. She said, Mama, I gotta go this way because there's something I want you to see.
Oh, the Voteless People is a Hopeless People mural.
Please go into every college and every university that you can, because there is a child that's sitting there waiting for you to come through so they can see you. They don't know it and you don't know it. But we know a higher power who's waiting for you to go by and say, this is my child too, and I have something for you to do with this child. Thank you, and I'm
Right
not
on.
going to say anything.
Thank you. Any other questions?
KD, not gonna say anything. Listen, this young man here is already doing some of the stuff that you're mentioning by going in the communities and getting the youngsters to do murals in the community. He came back from Houston primed and ready to make a difference. So he scored. That's the short name for score. So he and his family are connected to youth already. And our youth have to see us in this, because if not, this art will die on the vine. And we are determined not to let that happen. So thank you for saying that. Our goal is to go to HBCUs. We've talked about that part, and making sure that we go and share this story, the visual, with other people. And the colleges that don't look like us, because there's some predominantly white colleges that would love to have this art show too, because the story that's tied to it. So we thank you all for coming out. I'm just blessed to be in a room that looks like this room. But God. But God. So thank you all, and we appreciate it. Alyssa, you coming up?